Hey guys, Ryan here. I thought I would talk today about a different topic. I'm just killing some time, so I was thinking about this one and thought that I might explain the difference between knowing when to fill a gap and knowing when your opponent's baiting you into a trap. Okay, so a few different sayings that are relevant to this one. There's of course the Bruce Lee saying, the old "be like water." The "be like water" mentality is an awesome mentality on arm wrestling. So too many people place too much threat. Let's say you're a top roller, you place too much threat all on the outside of your arm, and as a result, you miss opportunities to take a leverage advantage on the inside path of the actual pin. So being like water would be suggestive that you have a balance in your hand pressure and let's say your back pressure, that if an opportunity comes up, i.e. if your opponent makes a mistake on the inside path, then you naturally, without even really having to consciously think about it, fall into that advantage and take control of that leverage, and thus your opponent never gets it back. But there is such a time when your opponent, okay, a cluey arm wrestler, the more experience you get in arm wrestling, the more likely you're going to start to employ tactics such as this, is I'm going to bait you to think that I'm weak there, just so you walk in, so you actually become more vulnerable on the angle that I was hoping to make you vulnerable on. So that of course gets into the whole Devin Larratt, don't take what's being given to you mentality, which is a really important mentality in advanced arm wrestling, because so often, let's say a hooker who can't quite get his cup, he'll lay his arm down and turn his palm up, hoping just to bait you to come inside. Of course, the moment you do come slightly inside, bang, he gets his cup in and says, "Thanks very much, I now have access to finishing rotation," where he didn't before. So knowing the difference between filling a gap of somebody's error and knowing when not to take what's being given to you is an art that is developed through table time and experience. I know that for me, the best way to develop this awareness, now I guess it's pretty hard to describe in words how to tell the difference between somebody baiting you into a trap or leading you into an error of your own versus you just filling the gap of somebody else's error. Now, the best way that I would encourage you all to arm wrestle in order to develop this sense in your hand is to really practice defensive arm wrestling. What I mean by that is defensive arm wrestling in the sense of using just your hand as opposed to your arm. So when I teach a newcomer to arm wrestle, this is the foundation that we lean on, but it's also the same foundation that I use in all my training. It's the way that I feel I develop instinct on the table that is superior to people who don't train this way. Okay, so for me, take a really deep grip. Okay, you want to and then when you apply some lat pressure and a little bit of rising pressure through the bicep, but not a lot. Okay, now when you take that deep grip and you add that back pressure, you want to have an even distribution between force on the top of your hand through pronation and on the bottom of your hand through a supinated style cup. You want to be able to equally react in, out, depending on where your opponent's going to go. Now, if your opponent is too strong for you, that's okay. Just keep that threat in the hand and float forward. Like, to me, it's always a decision to lose your hand. Okay, if I put my hand around someone and I ramp up my lats as hard as I can and their hand's too good for mine, well, naturally my hand's going to open. But if their hand's too good for mine, I don't have to lose my hand. I just go to crank up my lats. I recognize, oh, hang on a second, my opponent's hand's too good for mine, so you back off on your lats. Now, your opponent can't take your hand. It's your choice to lose your hand. What your opponent can do is if they go for the pin, you stay at the maximum of your hand and just float forward, lean down towards your own pin. Now, as you do that, you are going to feel opportunities. You're going to feel, ooh, weak spot. There was a weak spot on the inside. There was a weak spot on the outside on your opponent's game. So you're going to start to develop this sense, and you're going to start to get a feel for when it's a real genuine opportunity versus them baiting you. Guys, that's the simple answer. Arm wrestle like that. Now, if you're against someone weaker than you, it's even easier to do. Again, balancing the top of your hand, the bottom of your hand, nice deep grip, back pressure, and simply allow them to move and just give them space and block and feel just with your hand. Guys, spend as much time as you can with table time like that, and you'll really develop a great sense of feeling the difference between somebody baiting you into a trap and somebody giving you an opportunity that they're not even aware of, and you seizing control. All right guys, take care.